What is the worst reason to have a baby? Why? To compete with someone. To use it as a content on social media. Your parents wanted grandkids. My dad had an incredibly fucked up and traumatizing childhood. Instead of dealing with his subsequent mental illnesses, a person at his church told him to have lots of kids, it will heal your trauma. So he had 6 and we ended up homeless at certain points and traumatized ourselves. Idiot. To save the relationship. It never works, it just drags an innocent baby into a miserable situation. To sell them. Daughters are being sold into child marriage and sons are sold for forced child labor in many countries. To have an organ donor for later. So you can understand the pain I went through and understand how horrible it is, Mom. And actively tries to push it. Like, when are you having kids? You are having kids, right? Then get visibly angry when she says no, she's not. She doesn't want them. To distract yourself from a traumatic experience, robbed at gunpoint. A long time back, a coworker told me this after our conversation about what happened. She said it'd distract me. Then she said I was selfish for telling her that was a horrible idea. Because everyone else has won. Having a kid for a specific gender. To use as a doorstop. Child support benefits, any money benefits. Or to keep someone stuck in a relationship with you. Downright toxic and cruel. Only have kids if you're prepared to love them unconditionally despite anything, unless you know if they end up being on the sex offender registry or anything, you're financially stable enough to give them what they need and you genuinely want kids. Because it's expected of you. Because your partner wants one. Because you think it will make you, or your partner or your relationship better. Babies should never come into the world with a job. Spare parts for an already born child, with some kinda health issue. X200B. PS look up Savior Babies. I know a woman who was hoping it would give her bigger boobs. To be responsible for their disabled sibling in the future, yes. I had a friend tell me she wanted another child so that her disabled son would have someone when if she passed away. Because you find them cute. They aren't a pet. To keep a man. To please someone else, like your partner or parents-in-laws. Especially when you don't want it 100. Because religion, God told me to. To fix your relationship, marriage. To live your unfulfilled dreams. To have someone to take care of you when you are old, they are not your labor slaves. To have a legacy, you don't have one. You are not famous, you are forgotten in 3 generations. To try and trap a man. I'm an affair baby. My mom was a side chick for 10 years to my dad. She met my dad through her best friend, who was my dad's spouse and sibling's mother. Mom got sick of being the side piece and got pregnant on purpose. My dad continued seeing both of them for years after. My sibling's mother and my father broke up. My mom and him dated but ultimately broke up because my mother is fucking unhinged. To add to a collection of babies to be sewn together into a baby Voltron. To eat it. Using them to fulfill your childhood dreams, forcing them to be into sports when you weren't, etc. Welfare, child support money. Because it's what's expected, you're in that 26-28 age bracket, everyone else you know is the reason I'm here. To have extensions of yourself, someone to take care of you when you're old. The decision to have kids shouldn't be about you. You should embrace the possibility that they are not going to turn out exactly like you because they're their own, fully realized human. Also, bringing another person into this world for a whole lifetime just so that you're not lonely when you're old is fucked. Had crazy neighbors, constantly screaming, fighting. He even tried to burn the house down with her and their 2 kids in it. When he got out of jail, he assured me things were gonna be better now, because they were going to have another baby. There are parents that have children just so they can live their childhood dreams through their kids, women that wanted to be dancers, so they forced their daughters to take dance lessons. Men that want to be sports stars so they constantly train their children in sports. For a snack. Looking at you, Cronus. To check if one is infertile or not. A friend's husband actually used this reasoning. Haha, now he's got 2 kids, different moms. Totally fertile it seems lol. My boss at work is in her 30s, works full-time, homeschools her only kid, cooks dinner every night, mows the lawns, does the shopping, laundry, etc. while her husband does nothing but complain. She's told me he literally sits around and watches TikTok all day. I once heard her yelling at him on the phone because he lied to his daughter who is homeschooled that he couldn't read and couldn't help her with schoolwork. He has no job. He does nothing. And my boss wants another baby because she thinks it'll be what motivates him to change. Anything other than a mutual, carefully discussed, planned and thought-out decision to have a child is wrong. Wife and I had this discussion over the first 5 years of our relationship and decided it would not be a fit for our lifestyle or future life plans goals. And if we did change our minds, we felt adopting a child in need was the correct choice anyway. Once we made that decision, I got snipped so she could go off birth control as early as possible. 45 years old, married 10Y, together 20Y. So it'll take care of you after you've mentally and physically neglected your well-being for 7 decades and all for having an indentured servant subject. I know somebody who flat out admitted she got pregnant with, it was either her 2nd or 3rd child in order to get an increase in food stamps. Facepalm #hash. To rekindle a relationship. Having a baby will help us beat our addiction. My stupid fucking brother. At least my niece has a great foster family and is there forever. To feel complete. Most women I know have children because their friends are having children. It's a vicious biological competition of a society that taught women they are not complete if they do not become mothers. The government forces you to have the baby because they decided you aren't responsible enough to have an abortion. Edit guys, I didn't intend this to become some kind of political debate. Chill. Out of obligation to catch up to the rest of your siblings, or because you feel like your parents won't love your children as much they love your siblings' children if you wait too long. Because it's a social norm. So that someone will be there to take care of you when you are old. Because you're a woman and therefore you should automatically have them as it's your only purpose expressionless face. To ensure you're not lonely as an old person. Or to ensure someone is there to take care of you. If your children choose to help in those things that is great, but you shouldn't put that obligation onto them. So that your eldest can have sibling etc. Now it may sound like a great, selfless thing on the surface, but let's consider the psychological impacts on the younger child knowing this. Feeling like they owe their existence to their eldest. On the flip side, the eldest knowing this also gives them an impression of ownership. You exist so that I can have a friend. I've seen this all too often, and most recently as an alternative excuse to save a very obvious dying relationship slightly frowning face. The worst reason won't be popular. To fill one's rape dungeon. That's pretty bad. Having a baby to fix or save a failing relationship, or feeling obligated to have a baby due to pressure from family, friends, or societal expectations. To stay on welfare. To make yourself feel needed, save a marriage. In both cases, the child is likely neglected or used. See Jack Stauber's Opal. Societal expectation. Because the firstborn was a girl, because that's just misogynist, we must have a son BS. Also, the firstborn being disabled, the lil sibling isn't supposed to be a caretaker. They are their own person with their own life. Because that's what you're supposed to